welcome back to the channel. I am the Darklight Emissary, and this episode is on the endless green tide, the Orks. The Orks are a fascinating species and faction in Warhammer. They are just as ancient as the Eldari, for they were created at the same time by the Old Ones to help combat against the ancient star gods and their Necron armies. At first, they were known as the Krork, and from what we know about the Krork, they were a highly intelligent, large bipedal species. There is only one recorded sampling of a Krork in the collection of the Necron Overlord Trazen the Infinite. The Krork, kept in stasis in his collection, stood at 12 meters tall and was clad in power armor thought to be possibly more advanced than Space Marine power armor. But other than that, not too much is known about the Krork themselves. Some have speculated the entire species was the size and power of this example, but others argue Trazen tends to take the best for his collection, not just anything, so I personally doubt this Krork is representative of them all, just as a Primarch is not a representation of a Space Marine. What is known is sometime after the downfall of the Old Ones, the Krork devolved into the modern day Orks. Orks are a belligerent species. They are also the most numerous species in the galaxy. They are tenacious, like cockroaches. Once you have them on your world, they are nearly impossible to fully eradicate, and they multiply rapidly. Orks need war like you need water to survive, and Orks will fight each other if no other opponents are around to fight them. They see war as a need, but also as a sport, and often will try to find something bigger than them to fight to prove themselves the toughest. Orks are not mammalian in physiology, although they kind of look like they should be. They are a mix between a bipedal animal and a fungus, actually. So as Orks walk around, they drop spores into the soil as they go. Upon death, they drop an enormous amount of spores. After some time, smaller Orks, called Snotlings and Gretchen, grow out of infected soil, and also a creature known as squigs start growing as well, which serves as a primary food source for all Orks. So in this way, they create quickly their own biological biome and fulfill needs, making an Ork infection on a world hard to ultimately eradicate. If you defeat an Ork army, and any of them escape, or you don't then scour the ground with specialized weaponry, eventually some savage tribal type Orks will appear out of a nearby forest, a jungle, or anywhere else they can hide for a time and grow again. Of note, the Orks do not use money for currency in their culture. They use their own teeth, or teeth with an F, as they pronounce it. Orks grow teeth back quickly, so it's not a big deal to gather teeth, but the more teeth a single Ork gets, the more rich they appear to their colleagues. Hilariously, one of the tribes of Orks grows teeth faster, so is one of the richer tribes, and the other tribes like to have them around, because if they want to get richer, they try to find a member of that tribe and just punch their teeth out and take them. Orks are like a barbed hook lodged deep into the flesh of the galaxy, and it may be too damaging to ever truly remove them from it. If Orks were at all to unite into one single force, they would sweep the entire galaxy, with nothing left to oppose them. The Gretchen and Snotlings farm the squigs, and then as the colony matures, the mainline Orks also start appearing. Orks have a baseline psychic, Gestalt, but they don't really have psychers, except for a few known as Weird Boys. But this psychic Gestalt is what all Orks feel and helps drive them together as a species. For all of their infighting, Orks are nearly, in some cases, a hive mind of intent. They may have individual names and can communicate as individuals, but if enough of them gather together, they can basically become a green tide of violence towards whatever fight they are all wanting to participate in. The more successful a Ork is in combat, the more they grow. The more enemies they defeat, the more they grow. Eventually, some Orks become what are known as knobs, which are bigger and more powerful than other Orks. And from the knobs class usually rises a war boss, the biggest and strongest of the Orks. Orks believe might is right, always. And so if you can defeat a war boss, the other Orks will follow you as the toughest Ork. Once Ork numbers gather and reach a critical mass, they grow into a state known as a wad, which becomes basically an unstoppable storm of Orks towards whatever target the war boss guides them towards. And these can range from a few thousand Orks to millions at their biggest. Orks to me are a mix of hilarity but also terror, because while from the outside of the setting, in looking into it, they appear at first glance like a silly, satirical species, which they are from that point of view. In universe, they are truly terrifying for anyone having to both fight them or become enslaved by them. Orks do not really feel pain. There have been cases of an orc doctor taking the severed head of an orc and putting it onto a new body and then fighting soon after. And since they do not feel true pain or fear death, they cannot relate to those who do. They will often torture humans and other species they capture for fun, laughing at their pain. As mentioned regarding their hive mind state, the orcs operate, in my mind, almost like a slime mold. Over time, they grow and spread over an area, and they have inbuilt in their genetic memory technology advancements as they grow in numbers. At first, they will operate like a primitive tribe with spears and implements like that, but engineered into their very being are designs for their weaponry and eventually can even travel in space in cruise ship designs. Due to their psychic gestalt, orc belief in things helps them run better. Their weapons often won't work after there are no orcs to operate them, and if they paint something like a bomb yellow, they believe that bomb will blow up bigger. Red things go faster, so on and so forth. All due to their gestalt psychic force making the warp manifest things into reality for them. While I try to stay away from memes on this channel, not because I dislike them, but because I want you to have accurate information, one is funny here regarding colors. One of the jokes regarding the orcs is that they believe that if they paint themselves purple, you cannot see them. The joke being, have you ever seen a purple orc? It's never been said for sure this is the case, and it's left as a kind of tongue-in-cheek joke on the power of the orcs' faith system that helps power their species, coupled with the science that imbues them with technological knowledge as a colony matures. Orcs cannot really fall to chaos or become corrupted by it, and this is because they worship their own two gods that are in the warp as well, Gork and Mork. Gork is brutal but cunning, and Mork is cunning but brutal. Mork hits you when you aren't looking, and Gork hits you even harder when you are looking, so that kind of sums up the orcs in a nutshell. Due to the sheer numbers of the orc species, and them basically being a near hive-like in their intent, like I said, Gork and Mork are both powerful gods, and insular to the chaos gods. They shrug off any attempts at those gods to either consume them or take orcs as individual worshippers. The chaos gods simply do not offer the orcs anything they do not already want. The closest would be the war god Khorne, and related to that is a orc war boss named Tuska Demon Killer, who took a liking, as his name suggests, to fighting demons. Khorne was so satisfied by how the orcs fought that he resurrected the entire Wog and Demon Killer and brought them into his domain in the realm of chaos to fight each day in the shadow of his great skull throne. But other than that, there has never really been an interest I have seen of any orcs ever falling to chaos for any real reason. They simply don't think in terms of ambition in the ways that chaos tends to tempt other intelligent species. And orcs are single-minded in their bloodiness, and their devotion to their gods is almost built into their very flesh. One of the greatest examples of their gods is the creation of Gargants, which are basically a orc equivalent to an Imperial Titan. They are a gigantic, crude machine built into the shape of one of their gods usually. So it's kind of an ultimate expression, and at the height of an orc society, they'll build these machines to go to war with. And so that is a bit about the orcs. There isn't too much to really say other than this at the core about orcs. There's plenty of fun stories about individuals of the species, and they have even threatened beings like the Emperor in ages past. During the Horus Heresy era, it is thought that the orcs could eventually reach the level of Kork again if they ever got organized and enough of their numbers grew exponentially. In the latest era, with which the outbreak of the Eye of Terror splitting the galaxy in two, orcs have also been growing in numbers and belligerence as well. So we will see in time what could happen on that front with everything kind of getting out of hand in the latest era in the Warhammer setting. Orcs are a very simple species compared to the other factions. They do have different tribes with somewhat different cultures. I'm not going to elaborate on them here, but at their core, they are all green, war-craving machines, trying to prove to the next orc how they are the bigger, tougher orc. And I think that is all I will say about the Orks. There isn't as much to explain with them in detail. They have some interesting single characters, but this is meant to be an overview video like the rest right now. If you want to learn more about them, I recommend checking out Battlefleet Gothic Armada intro video to the Orks. It's fun and great to show them in space, or to play as them. Or you can play the Dawn of War campaigns as Gorguts the War Boss. He's great. And one of their most well-known characters is Gazkul Mag Uruk Thraka, probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, war boss that we know of existing. And perhaps I will do an individual dive on him and others, or a deep dive on the individuals that are awesome for this species. Also of note that I had not written down, which I should have, was the Space Marine game. Also has a fun appearance by a war boss, and you're fighting some orcs. That's a great example too. So as always, please like and subscribe for more. Leave a comment discussing the content of the video or requesting something you'd like to see next. Bring your light into the dark places, and have a great day or night wherever you are. Thank you.